Bonjour monsieur, je vais prendre une autre bière et un croissant jambon
Peon?
beurre. My God, I have not heard that name in years.
What are you doing out here? Where have you been?
I've been happy, AV. I've been in my own little world, and I don't want to come back, man.
The Inkling meta is a garbage fire. The Smash community's in ruins. The BTM podcast, I don't even want to go there. What have you been doing?
Look, man, I'm happy here, dude. I know I kind of left you guys hanging, but you know they got snails here, and I've learned so much about the human body. You know, the very thin and fragile line between pain and pleasure. And
Okay, enough about snails and human anatomy. You need to come back to reality. Like, come on, just come back to the US, please. What can I do to get you back? Just get on this flight. I'll just literally book you a ticket right now. Come on.
Yeah, man, I have been missing some In-N-Out burger. Let's do it, bro. Let's head home, man. Maybe it's time. Two weeks have passed, and Peon is back in the States. AV gets his podcast back, and the two of them are live in the recording studio.
And really, as we approach the nexus of introspection here, just really take away, as a player, what it means to truly look within yourself. And cut. All right, I'm really liking what we did there. I think we had a lot of cool back and forth, but one thing I really want to bring up is what's up with all of these sadomasochistic references? Ever since you've gone back from Europe, it's just like nonstop.
Well, I appreciate you saying that to me, AV, but I'm not so sure if we've, brought it up too much. And, if we have, perhaps it's our obligation to find, that limitation's breaking point.
What? No, why does it sound like I'm talking to this, like, weird sexually emancipated evil European twin of yours?
I'm not a sexually emancipated European evil twin, AV.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it.
Welcome, broadcasting to the entirety of the Super Smash Brothers community. This is Beyond the Metagame. I'm your host Peon, this week live from Home Depot. I'm joined, as always, by wonderful co-host AV. AV, how's it going, big boy?
Why do I feel like one of the most important things to having it together is having a nice, healthy garden? So I think so. You're gonna catch me in the gardening section. I'm trying to fill out my garden. You feel me?
Yeah, I quite respect your gardening initiative. In addition, I just want to point out, I love going to those big hardware stores. I love the big vaulted ceilings and the smell of freshly cut wood and lumber, and that little garden section is always a highlight. What a good establishment.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things where you just transition from living from the land, or rather living some people giving you the tools to live, and then you living on the land. It's just kind of creating things. It's this very this very agricultural phenomenon, psychological, psycho-agricultural, if I should be so bold.
Oh my God. Is that our end game, maybe? Like when Smash Bros 17 comes out and it's some crazy ass virtual reality genital controllers or something, and you and I are okay, gaming is no longer for us apparently. Are we just gonna be gardeners? Are we gonna live off the fruit of the land together? Is that how you see this going down?
I mean, when the eventual demise of our civilization happens, agriculturalists, botanists and people who basically grow plants are gonna be the people who are most valued. So we should start now.
Well, All right then. I feel uncomfortable like setting my life up to profit off of the apocalypse. I feel like that's a really weird trajectory to take. But if you say so, AV, I'm going along with you. And yeah, man.
Yeah, cool. Well, in any case, let's get on to today's episode. So, today we're going to talk about scraping the rust off, or applying rust solution, however you want to metaphorically describe it. A lot of times when people come back from big breaks or long, kind of thoughtful, basically vacations from the game, people are unsure about how to get back in. And also, like, how to make the most of this experience, and in some cases, how to deal with the fact that you're not really as good. I know, Dane, you have a lot of context on this, so I think it's going to be really interesting to talk about.
Yeah, man. I mean, for those who don't know, a lot of people do. We've mentioned it on the show, frankly, but I have just come back from a very long trip. I didn't play Smash for almost 2 months, and I am feeling the repercussions of my absence, and it's been quite an adventure getting back into the game and relearning old habits, and with all of the blessings and challenges that's come along with my re-immersion into the Smash Bros competitive space. I'm just excited to delve into it and to see what we can all learn from an AV. But before we do so, I do have some plugging to do, my friend. It has never been a better time in the world, in the history of the world, to join the BTM community Discord. That's right. We have people joining there every day. It's the place to be. There's a lot of different sexual expressions happening over there, AV. Wouldn't you say so?
I mean, that's one way to describe it, but I mean, join the exclusive lounge, and there's all kinds of stuff in there.
Speaking of the exclusive lounge, there is a BTM Patreon. That's right, a BTM Patreon. Look, AV, I don't mean to hold my hat in front of the audience and just shake it, you know what I mean? But the thing is you took out an extremely expensive loan in my name just 2 months ago, AV, and I have not eaten a piece of food for weeks. So please consider joining our Patreon and joining our lounge. Speaking of food, sorry to cut you off, AV.
Yeah.
I'm on a roll here. There is this really cool channel on our Discord. It's a fitness-based Discord. We've all been making weekly fitness updates. I want to shout out to Zunon. I want to shout out to, specifically Zunon. He's been doing a really good job giving us weekly updates. Ultimate's been over there. There's been a lot of people kind of making strides. Minlo stands out. And kind of the BTM community is getting kind of jacked, I want to say. We're all kind of getting sexy. Summer's only a good 9 months away, AV, but we're going to be ready. So all those who are trying to, get a community of other people losing weight or gaining muscle, whatever you're doing, it's a good time to join the Discord for that express reason.
I can't agree with you more. I love seeing people go on that fitness journey. I think we're both pretty similar minded in that. And speaking of that massive loan I took out in your name, your red room does not stock itself, my friend. So,
one more quick announcement before we get into the episode. We do have a BTM tournament coming up in just about 11 days here. It'll be September 29th. 10 days from the time this episode gets released, and it is going to be a really cool event. We've had 2 tournaments in the books already, but this one's kind of to celebrate season 4, also to celebrate the community. We've grown so much as a community since our last tournament, and I really am excited to see how it goes. I want to see how the community has leveled up, where we are at this stage in the meta, and if that sounds like something you want to participate in, it is a Wi-Fi tournament. Join our Discord, and the information for that tournament will be, in our Discord. AV, I think we've wasted enough time with the intro. You want to just get right into this episode?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
So all that and more in just 1 second. Welcome back to Beyond the Metagame. This week, AV and I are here to talk about Rust. We are snapping back to reality. Look, man, I've been away from the States for far too long, and it turns out I'm very bad at Smash right now. AV, I want to talk to you, first of all, of breaks. I took a break, a long break, somewhat intentionally. I traveled specifically. I traveled around Europe for 2 months, did like a backpacking, stereotypical uh, postgraduate trying to find myself trip. It was terribly cliche, and I drank a lot of alcohol, and now I feel tired. I feel stupid, and I feel terrible at Smash.
I feel like I've seen so many of those Facebook videos about like mocking people who come back from Europe trips, like talking about how they found themselves in Europe and how the drinking culture is different, and that you're and like eating food at different times has completely changed your mind on society.
Yeah, dude. Actually, man, I'm just never hungry anymore before 7. In Europe they eat at 8 p.m. every night. Like, yeah, that kind of stuff. I've caught myself a few times where people have been like, where I'm like, oh yeah, dude, when I was in Europe, like, and they're like, Dane, shut up, dude, no one cares. I'm like, oh yeah, right, my bad.
But yeah, in any case, you did take a pretty massive break, and the thing is that taking a break is sometimes intentional, sometimes not, or sometimes subconscious. And in your case, it was fairly planned. Like you knew going into this trip, like you were going to take a massive break from Smash. Did you kind of prepare yourself for this? What was your thought process going in? Like, did you have like a thing that about like a regimen that you're gonna follow afterward? Were you following the scene? Were you watching things? Sorry to throw a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff at you, but I'm kind of
No,
interested in
no,
your whole
no.
like mental preparation in and out of this.
Well, that's the weird thing. So I knew, because like a lot of times people, maybe they'll take a break because, oh, like a new game is coming out. Maybe Borderlands 3 is coming out, right? Or maybe it's like a new fighting game. Maybe like, oh, Rivals of Aether is coming to the Switch, right? And they know they're probably not going to be playing Smash as much during like the fresh release window of another game they care about. That's a good example. For me, it was I was going on a vacation, right? Um, and so, but like leading up to that, to my flight away from the States, I knew that I wasn't going to be playing Smash for a long time. And it really, really, really demotivated my progress to improve, or my desire to improve. And also like my performance in tournament in like the week or two before leaving. I was like, man, like there's this weird thing about when you play in tournament, you always kind of contextualize that performance with like, look, man, I need to improve this tournament, so I learn some stuff. So next time I'll be ready. I knew that no matter what happened in that tournament, I wouldn't be able to apply it anytime soon, if ever. So it was like a really weird mental, demotivated state.
That's really interesting, actually. So after that, event, like, did you feel like, did you ever like study the game when you were abroad, and like, did you ever like, do you have like a newly rejuvenated motivation for the game? Like, I mean, now, before, like, it does make sense that there was this weird like part of your life where you're like, you know what, like screw it, like what's even the point? But now, are you juiced? Like, what are you feeling?
Yeah, that's kind of the funny thing is like while I was gone, and my girlfriend can attest to this, I was just like sitting in the bed at the hostel or wherever we were at, like watching these amazing tournaments. Evo. What else happened while I was gone? Smash Con. All these amazing tournaments that I wanted to attend, but just chose not to. And I was definitely getting some FOMO watching. Hero came out while I was away, so watching everybody test Hero and seeing him in tournament, like staying tuned in with all the drama, like, okay, should he be banned, all that stuff. It was kind of weird reading all that stuff as an outsider, because I probably had read 200 tweets about Hero, and I never even played the character. So it was weird. I kind of felt like an outsider, but I will tell you, like, I have never thirsted harder for Smash. I was never more excited to watch a VOD or a tournament set live than when I hadn't played the game for a month. I was fiending.
That's really cool, man. Like, so did you do a lot of analytical work? And did you specifically try to improve on things that you couldn't necessarily improve on if in the normal ways? Did you try to do any like mental work, or like some thought work of what to do during games? Like, I'm just really
Not at
interested.
all, dude. Not at all. Like,
Okay,
while I was gone, I was gone. I made I
cool.
like it's a Switch. I could have brought the Switch with me, but I knew that like I took this break somewhat deliberately. I thought that, you know what, I spend so much of my time with Smash, love Smash, dedicated so much of my life to Smash. But like, for the next month or two, I just want to, be introduced to new things. I want to see things. I really wanted to be present with where I was, and I felt like if I brought my Switch with me, it would have been a crutch, and I would have gotten less out of my travels. Like I spent the money to go there. I might as well be forced to enjoy the place.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? That's a really good point. I mean, I encourage people that take breaks and that go on vacations to kind of be in the present, do what Peon did, understand why you're going somewhere, and just kind of let go. That being said, I think there's a innate question of why do we take breaks other than a vacation to find yourself in Europe and to have philosophical and introspective trips to foreign countries.
No, you know what's worse though is when white people specifically, but I guess it isn't race specific, but usually it's white people. Like go to Thailand and like ride elephants and like they like go to some Buddhist like yoga session and they're like, okay, like I'm a spiritual now,
Yeah.
At least I wasn't doing that, dude.
I mean, yeah, I can imagine already with the tank top and harem pants. Like it's, yeah, dude, I've heard that a lot. So I've heard a lot of people going to India, but I actually I don't mind it at all. I think it's kind of cool as long as you don't make that your trip your identity. Like I think we're cool. But
Yeah.
other
What
than that,
would you have done if I came back with a ponytail and I was saying like namaste and
that's like so far removed from reality that I don't want to even talk about what I would have done.
come on,
Okay,
man.
my brain would have broken. Like you doing that is like I would have said, okay, what kind? I would have been sure that you were playing some kind of practical joke on me. Like that wouldn't be too far from the baseline. But in any case, why do we take breaks? I think there's a lot of reasons to take breaks. Some good, some bad, some neutral. Like I think generally, like when you're burned out, when stuff happens in your life, you tend to take breaks. What about? Do you have any other ones?
Yeah, like unforeseen circumstances, right? Like you said, life happens. Like, if you have a kid or if like you move to a new area and you don't really know the Smash scene there, maybe a new game comes out, and also I think there's something to be said about just like the wavering nature of interest. For some people, Smash is their thing, right? But for most people who love Smash and who like Smash, it's not all in all the time. I mean, you and I are kind of forced to be since we have a weekly show about it, right? But even between you and I, there's weeks where we play every day. There's weeks where we play once. There's a month where we don't go to a tournament. There's a month where we go to 15 tournaments. It's like that's just the cyclical nature of life, right? So, I think that's a really good reason that people take breaks.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. A lot of people, like you said, sometimes they're just not motivated. Some people just want to have new experiences. I think they're all in fine reasons. And saying in that, how should we approach them as productive tools, which is kind of the meat of what we want to get into today. Before we talk about how to like recover and what to prioritize after a break, I kind of want to go into the break itself. I did want to reference one fairly well-cited paper by Cepeda et al. From 2006 that kind of goes into the idea of learning and the improvement of knowledge over time involving the length of breaks. So something that a huge result that was kind of gained from this paper was the fact that long breaks actually significantly help your ability to retain information. Long breaks improve your memory, improve your performance, as long as your long breaks are also accompanied by like study sessions or in this case by gaming sessions and by productive uses of your time trying to learn something. So what can we take away from this? It's essentially that breaks are not always bad, and in fact like having a nice like regulated schedule of like going to the game, coming back out of it, and kind of doing these like pulses is actually not the worst thing in the world.
Right. Right. I mean, it's like, think about it this way: like, if you're an athlete, or if you, I mean, yeah, let's look at it in terms of athlete. If you're an athlete, well, there's an off season, there's an on season and an off season. If you're a student in school, you have a summer vacation, you have Christmas vacation, you have these designated blocks of time for you to explore other things. And I think like one pitfall of the adult world, especially in America, is that there is no break to look forward to. If you're working a 9 to 5, working 40 hours a week or more, as many of us are, um, there's often no break in sight. And I think that's like one of the reasons people go so crazy in the workforce. I think that's like against human nature in so many ways.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. I mean, even cultures that are extremely work heavy, like the Japanese culture, have entire weeks that are dedicated to not working. So, I mean, this is very existent culturally, and from the aforementioned paper that I referenced, I mean, the essential finding was that like people who just studied did like burst study sessions and had no breaks just performed worse over long periods of time.
Dude,
And
even the
yeah,
biblical God took a day off. He like made the heavens and the earth and the fish and the animals, and then he, like an omnipotent being, was like, you know what, bro? I'm gonna just chill for one day, real quick. You know what I mean? Like, I think if that happened, if you believe that happened, then surely you believe that you are worthy of a little vacation, right?
that is actually really funny because it's on the first day this happened, on the second day this happened. So yeah, I mean theoretically, like this omnipotent being could have just said, "Screw it, I'm just gonna do all this in one day." So
Yeah, no, what was he doing, dude? He was just messing around, dude. He was just messing around. It's like when you're up 3 stocks to 1 and some kid with that like a sideways Joy-Con. You can really do whatever you want at that point. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
you joke, but someone with a sideways Joy-Con almost messed me up when I was 3 stocks ahead. So I've been in this exact
No,
situation.
no, I
I've been
actually, that's
I've
funny.
been in
I
this exact situation.
I saw this like sideways Joy-Con Diddy Kong player that was like, he was so fast. I mean, he wasn't that good, but like his tech skill was insane. So I do actually, I fear the sideways Joy-Con people because it's a lose-lose situation. Either you beat a guy with a sideways Joy-Con, or you lose to a guy with a sideways Joy-Con. There's no like happy ending to that.
That is a great way to put it. Well, that is exactly how I felt, by the way, when I was playing that guy. But in any case, like, so we've acknowledged that breaks can be good as long as we've approached them productively. Now, the real question is, how do we get past this? How do we recover from them? And I think a good point to bounce off from would be you. Like, what have you done coming back from your break, and what do you recommend? What's worked and what's not?
Well, that's kind of funny. I mean, for me, like we were hinting at, when you take some time off, you become so rejuvenated, and your passion, your love is reignited. They say in romance that absence makes the heart grow fonder. And for me, as far as Smash goes, that's true. I took some time off. I came back, and it's just so fun to play again. I went to some tournaments. I'm certainly not the level I was relative to everybody else before I left, but that also kind of, I've had to recontextualize that. I've been humbled. I've come back, and I feel like I haven't been playing that well, but that gives me a really cool opportunity to kind of, I don't know, have a goal to shoot for, have like some, I was kind of becoming complacent with my results before, and now I kind of have something to strive for. I have some people to prove wrong. You know what? No, I'm back. Peon's back, baby. So it's been this like weird combination of just overall excitement to play the game, and an excitement to level up. And I haven't felt that way for a while.
Well, that's really cool. Like, do you feel like you're like 60%, 70%, 80% of where you were? Like, as in, do you feel that bad? Like, where do you feel like you're at? And
When I
do you
first
really
came
care?
back, oh, sorry to cut you off. When I
No,
first
no
came
worries.
back, I was maybe 40%, it felt like, for the first couple of days. It was bad, dude. It was bad. And then it kind of very almost asymptotically, is that the word?
Exponentially?
Well, no, like as an asymptote. Come on, Avi. Aren't you a math guy? You know what
Well,
an asymptote is?
you approached you basically had like some kind of logarithmic, like Well, that just means that you're approaching a ceiling, but you're just getting like infinitesimally closer to the ceiling, or
Okay,
floor.
upon further reflection, exponentially is the correct word.
Okay.
Um, I've definitely experienced exponential growth. Well, no, because whatever. Towards the fixed point of my former self, right? That's all. That's why I said asymptotically, but
Okay.
that still doesn't make sense. But bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
I have been improving at a increasingly fast rate. Um, and sorry, sorry, we need to like make a Peon is not allowed to do math with a show rule barring after this episode. I've been let's say I was at 40% when I came back, and now I think I'm like 80%, and it's been 2 weeks. It hasn't, I feel like I'm still not quite there. And the thing is, I had that big tournament in Fresno I talked about with EE last week. That is next week, so I have 1 week to kind of return to form. And Avi, I hope you can help me, get there.
Yeah, I mean, so I think something that would be really interesting is kind of form a plan of how we're gonna get from point A to point B. So in this like process of getting back to speed, something that you usually like to tout is basically spending some time in the lab, just moving around with your character, and just getting a feel for the stuff, like just the technical things, the technical bread and butters that you really wouldn't have been missing before you left. So how much of that have you done?
That's actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I think that you're so right. The first thing to practice after a big break is come back in the lab and relearn the easy stuff. Look, like practice your instant ledge snaps, practice your like bread and butter early percent combos. Practice just general movement because that's the stuff that comes back the quickest and also has the biggest impact on your game, right? So I have been doing a fair deal of that, but interestingly so, and I wonder how other people who've taken breaks, feel about this. I have a huge desire, instead of relearning the past, of just like going off in a weird direction and maybe learning like a new character entirely. Since I'm going to be spending so much time in the lab retraining myself, like why not just pick up a new character? I feel like right now is almost the perfect opportunity to do so.
So actually, that is, you bring up a really good point in the fact that your brain, when it comes back from a long break, is actually unsullied from all of these usual habits, these kind of surface level habits that you accrue when you play the game a lot. So you actually retain a lot of the stuff that you do normally, which is sometimes a lot of your core muscle memory, your core understanding of the game. And you actually lose some bad habits when you take breaks, which is one of the coolest parts about taking a break. Obviously, you probably lose some good habits as well, but this is the ideal moment to jump over to a new character because you're at this like really cool blank slate, like jump pad like scenario. So I mean, not to turn this into Character Crisis 3, but have you been have you been like looking at any characters that you want to play?
Well, yeah, I mean, before I answer that, I do want to kind of make the analogy that it's almost like I was a sumo wrestler and I lost a bunch of weight, but I did it at like an irresponsibly fast rate. Like all I ate every day was like one peach. And then, I lost like 200 pounds in a year, but a lot of that was muscle too, because my body was just like, shedding everything I possibly could due to the law of, thermodynamics, whatever, right? And so I'm no longer a muscly sumo man, but I'm also no longer a fatty sumo man. I've kind of dropped a lot of good and bad things, and now I am more like just a hollow skeletal husk of a Smash player. You know what I mean? With like that my own history isn't really that relevant anymore. But to answer your question, I am feeling like some trainer is in order. I've been having some like Pokemon Trainer has been a character I've enjoyed a lot this whole game's life cycle, but I've never really thought about having Trainer as a main because I just didn't really see a need in my lineup. And also, obviously, Trainer's a really big time sink. 3 different characters to learn. It's a hard character to master, and I already had 2 characters, so I just felt like it wasn't worth the time investment. But I can't deny my passion anymore, AV. I love the trainer. I'm having fun, and There's also another character who is striking certain itches.
Mm-hmm.
They have chains and they are related. They are the Belmonts. And they can
I do hope you're joking.
uplift great. No, 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 no. No, just the trainer.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was like, there's no way this guy's into the Belmonts, like other than any sort of implications you can draw from their their chained weaponry. But I think
Wait, can we talk about the Belmonts? Where do the Belmonts go? I haven't seen a Belmont player in tournament for like 5 months. Where do they all? Are they all like hiding? Are they preparing for? Like, are they in the bomb shelter? Did someone tell them that there was like some sort of nuclear like disaster underway?
Belmont's disadvantage sucks. It's probably some of the worst in the entire game. Like I think that's why, because it's a fairly linear gameplay. Like your keep out game is good. I just don't think Belmonts are as good as people think they are.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
It's kind of sad. I mean, I feel like there was a lot of really cool source material that from Castlevania, but I mean, it is what it is. I actually think they were represented fairly well. It's just that the way that we did is it's not fitting well into our current meta. And
Yeah.
speaking of like fitting into our current meta, what if you just come back from your break and you're just super good? Is that like a? I feel like that's like a bad sign, because this is actually usually what happens to me. I never go on breaks and come back and feel like I suck.
Yeah.
I always come back and from like long breaks, and I feel like, yo, I'm really good. I'm like, and I feel like it's actually a bad sign. And the thing is that there's some things cool about it. It means that like your mindset was refreshed. You've gotten rid of a lot of bad habits. But I think it also means that that my I think I just wasn't doing enough technical things, even though there's a lot of technical things with DK. But I mean, it's just confusing. Why is my ability to retain everything like always so good, or am I just fooling myself?
Huh. Yeah, I wonder. I wonder. Um, Maybe people that have different predispositions to, what they hold on to after some time off. Maybe you really, the way that you process new things and the way you process like things that you add to your game in a helpful, healthful, supplementary matter. Maybe you just like, kind of internalize that better than I do, or better than some other people do, and maybe you also shed bad habits, subconsciously better than people. I don't know any of the psychology behind that, but surely there's something to that.
Yeah, I think we want to avoid any truly armchair psychology here, but I think that one of the important parts in going back to the planning of how do I get back into the game is, what kind of person are you? How do you learn? How do you relearn? And how do you forget? Uh, Understanding all three of these things is probably some of the most important things in like coming back to the game. So Peon, what was like the first thing that came back easily? Like, so I think like in essence, I feel like there's some things that come back quickly and there's some things that don't come back as quickly. What seemed to just kind of fit right back in for you after like holding the sticks for a few minutes?
Yeah, that's interesting. For me, it was like really weird, deeply embedded things. Like I did like instant ledge trump back air as Inkling and like killed someone at like 150 or something. And
Mm.
I was like, I haven't tried to input an instant ledge trump in like 60 days. But that was so clean, and I thought that was so funny because it's like such a technical. But it was one of those things I've been doing since Smash 4, so it's just deep baked. I'm talking, deep dish pizza crust into my core of a gamer, right? Like that input. If I'm 85 years old in the retirement home, and they're like, "Hey, look, Judy is on life alert, and the only way to save her is with, an instant ledge trump." I'm like, "Okay, give me the sticks. I'm ready. I haven't done it for 80 years or 60 years, more accurately, but I'm gonna do it." That's kind of one of those movements for me. But um, I hope that the future of medicine doesn't rest in Smash Tech, but I'll be ready. Um, but that's kind of the thing is those kind of deeply embedded mechanics came back. But weirdly, like stuff like adaptation, like I was just playing so stupid. I would just run into everything. I would get hit by every projectile. Banjo would just come out. I would get hit by every Banjo Kazooie side beat in the world. Stuff like just stupid stuff that a seasoned person who plays regularly kind of is thinking about. I was just kind of playing like a Neanderthal, running around like trying to stomp out fires, and I was not using any sort of intellectual tact.
That's actually really interesting because when I came back for those who don't know, I actually took a fairly long break from competitive for a while. I mean, I was still keeping my chops up in the lab and with local training, but I took a fairly long break from competitive. And actually, the first thing when I was actually just kind of coming back to tournaments, coming back to playing more competitive people in person, the first thing that really came back for me was all of that. It was all of the behavioral and analytical and read based knowledge that came back to me. And then it was like some of the minor technical stuff that I was flubbing, and I think that's what allowed me to kind of come back really quickly, is because the stuff that was kind of easy to fix is just like, okay, you just got to grind this out in training mode for like 10 minutes and it'll come back. That's the stuff that came back really easily for me.
That I think that just shows the difference between you and I, though, Avi. I think that like one of the things that coming back has kind of humbled me about is it's kind of just exposed my hubris. Like I'm losing to people who I think that I'm better than, right? Which is a terrible mindset to have, in the first place. But not only that, when I would start to lose, I would compound the issue by just running in, by being impatient. Davey, you're more patient than I am. I was so impatient and ready to strike back. Like, oh yeah, bro, you hit me. Okay, let me take this, take that. Kind of like, in those like superhero movies when like someone, one of the hero gets out of shape and he comes back and he has a big belly and he like can't fight the way he used to be able to. That's how I felt. But instead of like rationalizing that, being like, well, perhaps I should just play a slower game and perhaps I should just try to adapt. I was just like, come on, bitch, come here. So it was something that kind of stung a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there is kind of like this innate ego trip that you're going to have to go through, in the sense that you are going to lose to people that you maybe were very comfortable beating before. And more relevantly, you're going to lose to people who have been hardcore training the entire time that you are gone, which is, I think, a really interesting thing, because I think we've been asked this before, like how do you deal with the fact that someone that you've seen day in day out just suddenly got a lot better than you. So part of this this break mentality is understanding that people grow and learn at different rates, and everyone has their own parallel process that they're going through. So I mean, if you were to come back and someone that you were regularly beating just is very, very good and is giving you the hands, like taking some time to step back and accept the fact that they put in the time, or maybe it was your lack of time, but just understanding that it's just a combination of all of these factors.
Yeah, everybody involved is an independent variable, right? It isn't just you versus Smash. It's everybody versus everybody, right? So that's kind of something to keep in mind, whether you're coming from a break or not, that, exactly what you just said. I've already been getting hit with that. Some people at my locals that 2 months ago I had a very, very, very firm understanding of their skill level. Well, guess what? Some people have been putting in work, and that's awesome. That's really cool to see. It's motivating. But at the same time, it's like, okay, man, they're throwing down the gauntlet. Like, how am I going to respond? And I think that in those vulnerabilities, in those times where you come back from a break, or maybe you're just like going through a dry spell in general, those are the times where you really dive deep and see the kind of competitor you are. Like, look, are you okay with being humbled? Are you okay with being embarrassed by not attaining results that you're accustomed to attaining? And and how is that going to shape you? How are you going to look in the face of that? And that's kind of one of the things I love about Smash. I on my first tournament back, Avi, I'm not going to lie to you, I had a really embarrassing moment where I lost a set to a good player. That wasn't the embarrassing part. But afterwards, in my head, I was kind of like, dude, why do I put up with this? Like, why do I do this to myself? Why do I even enter these tournaments like where I put myself in a position where I can lose and feel like this? I had like a really kind of cringy moment of like self pity. And that's kind of the thing. It's like, and then I kind of shook myself, like, dude, don't be such a bitch. Like, you lost. What are you gonna do next week? You're gonna do better. And that's kind of the thing I'm grateful for when it comes to Smash, is kind of giving me those opportunities to persevere and to come back from stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that because it kind of humanizes you too. Because I mean, I think everyone goes through those thoughts. I mean, even last week, or like when I entered a local and like and I lost a game to a very very good player. I had a 3 stock lead against, and this would have been probably the biggest win of my
It
career.
was Luis.
Like, wait, yeah. I mean, I didn't want to say it, but like
Well, I
this
said
literally,
it.
yeah, this literally would have been like the biggest win of probably the biggest win that I've had, and I was up 3 stocks to 1, and it all fell apart in front of me. Like it was game 3, and I had everything there. I thought it was gonna be it, and then it all fell apart. So like being able to pick yourself up after these after these devastating losses is super important. I mean, Luis is an exceptional player. He's literally one of the best players I've ever even had like the honor of playing. And I think I afterward I was like popping off in terms of like I was just like running around smiling. I was just like, wow, like this was insane. I can't believe that this happened. Like, why do I do this? Like, again, like, why do I do this to myself? But I was like, but in a weird way, after everything settled, I was happy.
Yeah.
I was in this weird like moment of elation of like the fact that, hey, this is what makes it all worth it. Like, it makes you feel alive. It gives you this like this competitive fire that makes everything worth it. Like,
This
I
weird,
mean,
like, primitive fight or flight response. Like, that's weird. I don't know. That feels so like primordial when I'm like my heart's at beating at 150 beats per minute. I'm just like so crazy focused. In that moment, you see the red flash and the pause, and you won, you lost, but either way, it's like there's nothing else like it. And I'm really falling. I'm really kind of re-falling in love with the game too. Coming back to it, despite some shortcomings, despite some challenges. I'm kind of falling in love for the first time, or not for the first time, but I'm falling in love as if it's the first time again. It's quite romantic.
well, that's cool to hear. That's awesome to hear, man. But I think one thing that I really want to talk about is now that you've taken your very first long break from Ultimate, I think something that's really important and something that we referenced back earlier in this cast is basically setting goals and setting like expectations around like what kind of learner you are, what kind of unlearner are you, and now eventually, inevitably, I mean, or maybe you won't, but inevitably you'll have another break from this game. So what are you going to store in your head for future you to kind of save or to set goals for your next break?
That's a good question, Av. Wow, that's not in the show notes. Where do you think of that? Yeah, I think that honestly, the way I did it is the way that works for me. I needed to go full bore. I'm the kind of person who's all or nothing. If I brought Smash with me, I would have been addicted, right? So I think that the only thing that I would tell myself is when you do come back from a break, and uh, be okay with how bad you are. Have realistic expectations. Look, man, the way that I'm going to be playing right now is not representative of how I will be playing in a month or two. Just give it some time. Let magic happen. Let yourself reacclimate to the competitive environment and to the game that you're playing. And don't put pressure on yourself to have instant results when you don't deserve to have those results. You've been gone in Europe eating like snails. What do you haven't done anything that warrants any sort of success. So that's kind of the thing, being more real with my own expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's advice that I think anyone should really take away from most of their experiences in Smash, is that often our worst enemies are ourselves and our expectations that we set. Because I mean, we get back to this over and over again, and it's kind of a recurring theme, but goal setting is often one of the biggest pitfalls for competitive players. Like, often goals are like stuck in these boxes. They're trapped in these quantitative boxes. It's like, I want to be on PR. I want to get this X placing top 16, top 8, top 5. One of the ways to get out of this, and something that Peon so nicely described, was the fact that you have to be okay with kind of like seeing these things happen to you and like letting them play out, and just watching this beautiful tragedy movie of your life just play out in front of you, and be like, okay, I can take this. Because like that's kind of what it is. You gotta maybe I'm being like too romantic about it, but like it's kind of insane. Like you have to be okay with these things constantly happening to you because of how volatile like any competitive like activity is.
Yeah, it's almost like you break your foot in basketball or like in soccer or whatever, and you come back, and you're not as fast as you once were. You're a little rusty. You have a little bit of a tummy now. You've been eating some chicken wings. It's kind of like that sort of thing, but with Smash. But like that also presents for you the opportunity to solve the issues that you were delaying in the past, right? We all have skeletons in our closet, both in life and in Smash. But let's stick to the Smash side of things for now. Like for instance, before the break, dude, look, man, I was getting real lazy about grinding certain things like Inkling Booyah percents, the up throw, up air, kill confirms, and just some other stuff, optimizing some low percentage wolf combos. And I was just kind of resting on my laurels, and I was kind of like, okay, my tech skill's good enough, which is a really lame attitude to have. And now that like I'm back and I'm already like, I have to learn things anyway, I might as well air out that closet and sort of re-explore the issues that I wasn't attending to previously.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, not to kind of dive into another complete subsection of this issue, but I think that's another huge thing that you are granted when you take a massive break from a game. The things that were really annoying to you, things that you didn't feel like you wanted to practice, are suddenly super interesting to you again.
Yeah, but now I came back and I'm getting thwacked at 0, and Banjo's side B is killing me on Wi-Fi at like 35%. So, dude, I don't know, man. Maybe I should kick it back to June when everything was peaceful and fine, and everybody thought Snake was the best character in the game.
Well, do you have a spare time machine in your closet?
The moment that you can travel the speed of light, AV, let me know. I'm coming along. Actually, school, we're going way back, baby. We're going back to David Hasselhoff's prime, and we're gonna see what he's up to.
Well, I'm definitely on board with that with that expedition.
We're gonna go back to like the DreamWorks studios and canonically integrate the Blue Shrek Derek into the movie. Like he's gonna have an on-screen performance.
Well, BTM live from the past with Blue Shrek. I don't think there was anything more that I wanted from the DreamWorks universe.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think we digress. I think we've covered this up pretty well. Are there any kind of last notes that you want to kind of sum up to bow tie this issue of rust scraping before we move on?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I do want to throw it out there to the community. I'm sure a lot of people are going through what I'm going through right now. I'm sure a lot of people will be or have already been through a period where they take a little break and they're getting back into the saddle, right? I just hope that you do so with enthusiasm and you do so with the expectation of, look, I'm just going to try my best. And that's kind of my plan, man. Going forward, I'm going to get back into the swing of things, and hopefully I come out the other side even better than before, with what we talked about in mind. And that's what I'm looking forward to doing, man.
Well, you're a very talented competitor, so I wouldn't be surprised if you came out looking like even more of a champion. So,
hey, what are you why are you being so nice? What's wrong with you? You're in.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know what got into me. I'm just being being way
Thank
too
you.
nice.
I feel uncomfortable. Like the moment we stop recording, you're gonna call me like a bat handler or some other like ancient curses.
I don't speak in runic curses and I'm not casting spells on you. is that what all like the words that I say sound like to you? Like they're like some random curses or from my spell book?
At risk of sounding like racist, I'm not gonna answer that question, maybe. But I will answer some questions from the BTM community, guys. If you want to ask AV or myself, or I mean the both of us, ideally, a question, you can do so. I'm talking about you guys, you listening right now. You can join our Discord and go to a little channel called #podcast.questions. This week we have 3 questions that AV fielded from there. The first one's from Ollie Jolly. AV, I'll fire this one off for you, buddy. How do you improve at escaping disadvantage? I've realized and been told that disadvantage is the worst part of my game. I autopilot a ton, but it's also because I just don't really know how with Fox. What do you guys try to mix up in disadvantage?
So I have kind of a generic answer to this question that I've given to many people who have asked me this. And then I'm going to follow it up with a less generic answer to kind of specifically talk about Fox. One of the things that I talk about when learning how to get out of disadvantage is actually just getting beat up by really good players. Really good players put you in disadvantage 70 to 80% of the time, so you're going to be spending a ton of time there. I don't want to be super generalistic. I know people in the past have made some very notable amendments to the things that I say in terms of the fact that you shouldn't only be learning your disadvantage from really good players. And I agree. I think those criticisms that my advice has been pretty valid. However, it is just by sheer probability and by sheer math, you are going to be spending a ton of time in disadvantage. You are going to be exploited and called out for all of your options when you're playing a really good player. So spending some time very thoughtfully mixing up your options against good players is where you really lock in your disadvantage. And that's, from my experience, where I've learned to really mix up all of the things that I'm doing are from players that know how to exploit every single part of my disadvantage. And as a DK player, my disadvantage is bad. It's really bad. So if I'm not using every single option that's available to me to mix stuff up, I just assume I'm dead. So because I go against the best players, I make sure to let the best players just absolutely destroy me. So then I understand that I'm never safe. Understanding that you what anyone can possibly do to you at any given situation allows you to feel comfortable playing perhaps people who aren't going to go as far, and to understanding kind of your boundaries on the stage. And then the second thing, without digressing too much, is just the simple part of knowing what all of your options are off stage. If you watch VODs and you watch a lot of competitive play of your character, like with Fox, understanding all different angles you can do with up B, different ways you can use shine to stall, your attack landings, your knowing not to avoid going low at all costs off stage because that's really easy to intercept. So understanding all of your different options off stage with Fox or any other character is really the way to go.
Yeah, and to extend that, also knowing what your opponent is looking for. If you're at kill percent and you're Fox and you're up against an Ivysaur, well, suddenly double jumping in disadvantage is a risky proposition because Ivysaur's Vine Whip and that amazing up air, and that's what they're fishing for to get you above them. And right, so it kind of also depends on who you're playing against. But I'll tell you this: whenever I coach players, I was given the homie Honk Lava, who asked the next question, a lesson today, and we did a drill where, and AV and I used to do this, where every single time you get hit, you say, okay, this is why I get hit. You literally pronounce what happened and how your disadvantage was caught by the other player. What it enables you to do is to become very mindful of how you are escaping disadvantage and will allow your mind to be very fertile in improving your disadvantage. That's my favorite drill to do for disadvantage.
Yeah, I actually really miss doing that with you. It's kind of hard to do that over Wi-Fi, but next time we're in person, we'll do that together for sure.
Cool,
But
cool, buddy. Let's
yeah,
do it.
in any case, as you mentioned, Honk Lava asked the next question, which is, I saw a movement guide in the Peach Discord while browsing, and a thought occurred to me: is it worth learning a skill or tool that is a major focus for the strengths of one character as a way to carry that skill over passively to a character that may benefit from having that skill? And to kind of sum this up, I believe he's essentially asking, like, you learn things while playing. Let's just say if you learn like getting beat up as DK and the disadvantage, it like doesn't necessarily improve your disadvantage playing characters like Joker who have a much better disadvantage. And to that, I answer absolutely, like 100%. I think that, first of all, this is a really good observation that I have experienced personally many times. Like, because my disadvantage has been like, there's been in like the pits of like Tartarus and Hell and Dante's Inferno, with like basically in all of like the worst places, like with playing a character with such bad disadvantage. I treat every disadvantage situation with other characters like very preciously, very carefully. So I think that's a really good, I think that's a really good observation, and I think you're absolutely right. It is absolutely worth it. Peon, what do you have to say about that?
I agree, man. Like I was formerly a Captain Falcon main in Smash Four, then I eventually switched to Cloud, and I really felt like my DNA as a Falcon player stuck with me for the life of Smash Four, but also until now. Like when you play a character, for instance, that relies on reads, you kind of keep that part of yourself uh, in your Smash bin throughout time. I think just as if you play a character that's really light, maybe like a Puff or a Xerxes Samus or something. Maybe you also subconsciously learn the skill like, hey, I'm going to avoid kill moves because I'm so light, I die so early that learning like high percent defense is such a crucial part of playing those characters. And I think, yeah, of course it extends, at least to a degree.
Yeah, I think I honestly think that's a cool observation, and if you find that stuff happening to you, I don't think you're crazy, because I've experienced that a lot myself. Want to fire the next one up?
Yes, sir. This next one comes from Topher. Topher asks, at my local, I see a lot of people wearing headphones while they play. My question is, do you think that listening to music while you play is helpful, and why? Also, do you, Peon or AV, listen to headphones while you play? And if so, what are you listening to while you play?
Well, I listen to nothing. I listen to game sound purely. The only reason I'd plug in my headphones is to listen to the game sound through my headphones. I find that different music, different songs, and not being able to hear audio cues in games and stuff like that has so many different random effects on my brain that it's actually really easy for me to just prefer this blank slate of not having any extra auditory input. I as some I look at a lot of these experiences like very meditatively. I like focusing, like, I, as someone that like meditates a lot, I like using these tournament environments to be like a very try to be like kind of this thing where I just like zone out the world and just like kind of put all of my energy into the competitive arena. I again, this is a little more anime than I guess it has to be, but like, but I mean, it is how I do it. It is how I prefer it, because I think that like if I listen to music, it'll just affect me in so many different random ways, and I don't want to have to control the music I listen to during my games.
Yeah, it's fair. I think that like audio. Let me just do a little PSA. If you're a TO out there, and your monitors that your community brings or that you provide don't have audio, that's a problem. I'm not saying that the TO should solve it all themselves. Maybe it should be crowdfunded. Maybe the community should do a little like fund. A little what's a fundraiser? Thank you for such products, but make it happen. This game there's so many important audio cues. I mean, Sheik's bouncing fish, stuff like Palutena's side B, stuff like a snake when he puts a little C4 on you. He says different things depending whether he puts it on you or on the ground. There's a bunch of weird little subtle sound cues that are necessary. I'm so tired of going to majors specifically. I pay $100 to enter the tournament, and then my setup doesn't have sound. I'm like, my setup at home has sound. At least at the very least, audio splitters for the Switch, so you can just plug in. I digress. When I do listen to music, and I do listen to music. I've mentioned this in the show before, but I think it's interesting enough to repeat. I have when we were talking to sports psychologist Steve back in the day, we talked about like the idea of having an optimal stress level depending on what activity you're doing. Steve, if I remember correctly, said something along the lines of like, yeah, let's say you're running away from a bear, and a bear will beat you in a race. By the way, don't run away from a bear. But if you are, for some reason, you're gonna want to be pretty stressed, right? If you're doing open heart surgery, you don't want to be stressed, right? You want to be calm, cool, and collected, so you don't accidentally shove your scalpel in a man's aorta. In terms of competing in Smash, I think everybody has their own optimal level of stress. Mine is somewhere in between a panic attack and total apathy. I would say it's the midpoint between those two concepts. And if I'm feeling very anxious or if I'm feeling very apathetic, I will listen to music that puts me closer to the middle. So if I'm very anxious, I'll listen to some smooth shit. I'm talking about some classical music. Okay, I'm talking about some Chopin. I'm talking about some Chopin. I'm talking about some jazz. When I'm feeling very apathetic, I'm feeling tired, sluggish, down on myself. Well, guess what? I'm hitting the Yeezus. I'm hitting the Kanye. I'm hitting the Kendrick Lamar. I'm getting myself juiced. Maybe some video game music to kind of amp me up. Some Halo. I'll listen to anything to get me juiced. But it's always within that context. But given the opportunity, I like to listen to game sound. But like I said, a lot of times it's not possible anyway. So that's my my rant's over, Abhi. I'm sorry.
Cool, man. I mean, I always enjoy when you kind of talk about that. I mean, I feel like you have a lot of cool stuff to say on that beautiful point in between a panic attack and total apathy. I always enjoy hearing that analogy.
Well, Abhi, I think this concludes our time together. You've been a very, very, very attractive co-host this week. You've been very. I've noticed a very, very small amount of runic incantations, which I've appreciated. So thank you for that. Where can people find you, my friend?
Of course, anytime, man. People can find me on on my Twitter at Abhi Vaidyanatha. Now, you probably can't spell that, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to head over to our podcast Twitter and find me there. What is our podcast Twitter, Peon?
Our podcast Twitter is at Beyond Metagame, and you may be confused because the podcast you're currently listening to is called Beyond the Metagame, but Twitter has a very strict character limit, which we did not adhere to. So it is at Beyond Metagame. Then, of course, you can find me at Beyond... No. That's not right. You can find me at Peon _BTT. That's right, Peon underscore BTM. That is Bravo Tango Mike for all of you military folk. We're sticking with the theme, baby, kicking it old school. Guys, my parting words to you are: please consider signing up for our tournament. It'll be yet again September 29th. Information will be in the Discord. And enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.